In this video, I'm going to share with you the secret weapon, in my belief, for how this whole bulletproof work management system works. It has nothing to do with the app itself and everything to do with the process for how I use the app. Now, in the previous two videos, I explained to you what the whole bulletproof Notion work management system is all about. And I gave you a few tips for how to get started. And I highlighted the fact that the app you use matters much less than the system you have for how it works. And this is what I believe most people struggle with and why people go from app to app wondering why it's not working. And that's because you think it's the app, but really it's the lack of a good system. Now here's the secret weapon. You've heard me reference David Allen's framework of capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage with everything you need to do in a system you can trust, right? That the first step, capturing the information, is where we need the app, but it could be a notebook for all it matters, right? Again, the system should work regardless. So when we capture information, the caveat is it has to be captured in a system I can trust. If I write it down in a notebook, but I don't go back and look at that notebook at any time in the near future, I'm going to forget to do that thing, right? And our brain sort of operates independently of us on this kind of stuff. So we can kid ourselves into thinking we have a system that we trust, but in reality, you'll know whether or not your brain trusts that system because of two important things that are tied directly together. If your brain's serving up reminders about these things that you've presumably captured in your system, it means your brain doesn't trust it, and your brain thinks you need the reminder, and usually your brain's not that smart about when it reminds you to do these things. It's usually when you're like standing miles away from your desk that it reminds you, oh yeah, I've got to do that thing that I need to be at my computer in order to do properly, right? So that's the sort of definition of a system I can trust, is my brain stops serving me those reminders, which means, by the way, my level of stress is not just reduced, it's eliminated. I have zero stress about this stuff because I know I'm going to get to it. I know I've got a system that makes sure that I'm going to get to it well in advance so that I don't miss any deadlines or drop any balls. That's the key. That's what makes it a system I can trust. So what makes this system, what part of the system is the real secret weapon within this? Well, I believe it's the reflect part of capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage. I believe it's the reflection that we do that makes the system one that we can trust, and I'm going to demonstrate for you now exactly what I mean by that. So let's take a look at my screen, and I'll show you. So right now you're looking at my Nerd Enterprises, my actual internal wiki. So let's go right into my internal Nerd Enterprises work management area, okay? And down here you'll see I've got my calendar view. You'll also see I've got a bunch of things listed here. Now you could think of these as tasks, you could think of them as projects. The truth is there's a mix of both of those in here. And that's the beauty of Notion, is everything is a page. These are all pages, and I can define a page to be whatever I need it to be. And that's what I love about this. But being a page, that gives me kind of a whole world in which I can add all kinds of things, including sub-pages and calendars and whatever I think of. So each page is like a whole world unto itself. And again, it's up to me to decide how I want to define its use. So here's the reflect part, right? So I'm looking here, and notice that I've got everything here kind of defined for 7 a.m. That's kind of my default time that I always set when I capture something new. And then the reflection part is I'll go into this, and let's pretend I just woke up this morning, which is, so let's say it's about 5 a.m., which is typically when I first come to the computer. And I know the first thing I do is work out. The truth is I changed this for this video, but this is always set for 5:30 a.m. because that's when I work out on any given day that I'm working out, right? And now this calendar is configured, by the way, to sort things first based on the time and second based on the name, right? So it'll be alphabetical when these are all at the same time. Now I've already done today's workout, so I'm going to just drag this over to Tuesday, right? This is literally what reflecting means. I'm looking at this and reflecting on it and saying, okay, is this done? When do I need to do it next, right? And what's the next thing I need to do in order to move this thing forward, right? So now I look at, this is my sort of project for how I'm managing this whole project, literally, that I'm doing this video for in this very moment, right? This is today's main project. I'm pretty much focusing on nothing else but this today, right? And these are, notice these both say BP Notion. If I hover my mouse over, you can see this is my launch schedule. So this is more of a piece of reference information that I need to make sure I look at, right? I clarify, I look at it, I reflect. I look at it and I reflect. I need to make sure that I've got everything done before it's sort of time, right? I'm releasing these videos. I need to make sure the videos are done and uploaded and all ready to go. So this schedule helps me make sure that I'm on track with that. This is the actual launch project that I have. And so this I'm going to leave at 7 a.m. because it's like an all-day thing, and like I said, 7 a.m. is kind of my default time, okay? This is a high-level thing that I use for myself for when I have more than just one thing that I'm focused on. This is where I take the time to clarify what the real priorities are. What's the first thing I should work on, and then the second, and so on. I don't need this right now, but I'm not going to get rid of it, so I'm just going to move this over into tomorrow, right? This is something that I've already taken the time to clarify, and I know that it's not something I'm going to do today at this point. It's one of those things that it's important to me. I want to do it as soon as possible, but it doesn't have to be today. So I've reflected, I'm moving it, I'm deferring it till tomorrow, okay? The Guide to the Galaxy podcast, again, not going to do that today. This is something I did this morning. I actually like to do this twice a day. It comes from Think and Grow Rich, where I've written out a statement explaining exactly what my goals are, what I plan to give in exchange for that. And I like to do it every day in the morning, and then in the evening, I'll put 8:30 p.m. right before I go to sleep. So now when I close this back up, you can see that's moved down because now it's the last thing of the day, okay? This is something I do every day. It's something I'm trying to just catch up on. I have a lot of scans that need to be renamed and then moved into my document management system, which is also in Notion. So I've already done this today, so I leave it at 7 a.m. because it's one of those things I just want to spend some time first thing every day and rename anywhere between 3 and 10 scans, and this way I know I'll catch up, okay? So now I'm left with, the 4 items that are left here. This one we've already talked about. This is another one of those daily things I want to do, but I haven't completely done it yet, right? It's just a practice, a habit of recording new ideas every day. Could be ideas for courses, for blog posts, for anything. It could be an idea for this very course that pops into my head at any given time. So that's it. I'm left with what I'm going to be left with for today. And now I can go into my today view and look at this. And the reality is I could sit here and schedule it out, and sometimes I will, where I'll actually get more specific here as to the times. But at this point, I don't need to because this is pretty simple and straightforward for me. Most of this is kind of the reference information I need, but this is the main thing I'm going to be working on today. This is my launch project, and I'll scroll down quickly and then blur out anything that I feel is not necessarily for public consumption. But as you can see, this gives me every single link and other information that I need to put everything I need right at my fingertips. These are the documents. This is, for this video series that I'm doing, like everything I need is right here. And some of these are links to other pages in Notion where I have a drill down in a lot more detail, right? Other things are external links to, for example, pages on the website. And, so I need these quickly if I'm writing content and I want you to, want to link you to a certain page. In a click, I can copy the link to the original and then, set that linked text up in an email or whatever it is I'm doing, right? That's what reflecting is all about. You just saw it in action, and what you're going to see when you get into the Bulletproof Notion system is that you're going to have, it's really two-tiered. On one level, you're going to have a very high-level view of each of your clients, and so you're going to have a similar-looking calendar, but where you have one page for each client, that you're going to move around the calendar and say, this is the next day I'm going to work on this client's stuff, right? And then within each client, when you open up each of those clients' pages, you'll have something that looks a lot like what you just saw with me, except different kinds of tasks, obviously, where you will manage every task, every meeting, everything you need to do for that client. And you'll manage it in much the same way. The point is you'll reflect on the information every single day to make sure that there isn't anything that needs to be moved, prioritized, and also to see what can be deferred. What don't I absolutely need to do today if I feel like I'm limited on time? That's the whole key. So here's your homework. I want to give you a quick little homework assignment, something you can do right away. It's designed to keep it very simple and high level, but it will help you get your feet wet, so to speak, with Notion. And especially if you are planning on signing up for the course and the program, it will get you at least somewhat familiar with the lay of the land, so to speak, so that when you do dive in, it won't be totally foreign to you. Okay, so I'm just going to create a new blank page down here in my little private section here. And you're going to call this something like my work, right? Again, this is not going to be your permanent work management area. It's just for you to play around and start getting your feet wet with this, okay? So we're going to open a blank page, write a title, call it whatever you want, and let's add a calendar. So I'm going to start with an empty page, and you're going to type /calendar. And it's going to come up from the, quick fill, and it assumes when you've written this much, there's only one option here. Calendar view, okay? Now, you're probably not going to have all these data sources like I have, and either way, you're going to want to click New Database, And just, again, it's waiting for a title for the database itself now. Again, you can call it my work calendar. You'll hear me talk about this a lot. You never want to repeat the exact same thing like these two, because one is the title of the page, the other is the title of the database, and there are times when you want to make sure it's very clear to distinguish whether you're, pulling up in a drop-down, for example, the page or the actual database. All right, we'll put an icon in here. The icons actually do become a very important visual for kind of the same reason I just mentioned. And then we'll click today to make sure we're on today. You can see today is highlighted in red, and you're just going to click this plus sign and add a task, right? That thing I need to do. And you have a page. Go have at it. You can type /bullet to write some bullet points, right? Or one of the things I really like is what's called a toggle. Create a toggle list. This works like a bullet with additional space for context. This is the second thing. And now, if I click on these arrows, I can go within each of these sort of topics and use bullet points to start providing more context, more clarity, whatever information I need to clarify what this thing is that I need to do, when I need to do it, why is it important, why is it not important, all of that is what we want to put into every task that we create. Most of you write tasks that actually create more stress instead of reducing it because you don't take the time to clarify, right? And then that's it. So what I'd like you to do is, check the link or check the description of this video. I'm going to have two links in there. One is to get on the early bird waitlist for the course that I'm launching, it's more than a course, but this whole work management program that I'm launching. The second will be where, if you're inclined, if you played around with this and done as I've suggested, take a screenshot, and I'm going to give you a link where you can upload it to a folder, make sure there's nothing too private in there. And then you'll see, it'll be really clear. Once you've uploaded it, there's a little comment thing you can click on. Write a comment. Explain to me what your reaction to this is, what you think. And certainly if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So check the description of this video for those two links that I'll provide. And I'm looking forward to seeing what some of you come up with in terms of this. But this way, you at least get a little bit of a picture of how to get started beyond what I showed you in the previous video in terms of at least beginning to lay things out in a calendar view so that you can start moving things around, exactly the way I showed you this. One of the things I love about Notion is how easy this view in particular makes it to reflect, to look at things and say, all right, this is done for today. Next time I'm going to look at it as Thursday or whatever it might be, right? So here's what's coming next. If you like these tips, then I want to share with you that I've barely scratched the surface in terms of everything that you can do, everything I'm going to show you how to do in Notion with my Bulletproof Notion work management system. I'm really just trying to give you enough so that you can start playing around and get comfortable with it without overwhelming you, right? Because that's the thing with Notion. It's overwhelming because there's so much that it can do, and it's overwhelming because you're starting with a blank page and you don't even know where to start, right? But I'm giving you what I wish I had when I first started playing with Notion, which is a framework for how to get your feet wet, get into it slowly, get into it easily, get comfortable, get familiar, and then pretty soon you're going to hit a tipping point where the floodgates are going to open and you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe I lived without this thing for so long. That really is my experience, and it seems to be the experience of every one of the beta testers we have in this program already. What I'm about to launch here is more than just a course. It's an entire system, right, with all the databases and templates built that you need. And then for those of you who care to, I will also have, lessons in the course. I'll have the course that teaches you how to use everything that I've already built for you, but then I'll also have lessons for those of you who care to have it for how you can create this stuff from scratch, from a blank page. Because even if you're going to use my system, having that knowledge will help you really evolve that system and create things that you can, so you just make it more and more your own going forward and tailor it to the way your brain works, to the way your company works, and so on and so forth. Don't forget, if you haven't already, click the link below and make sure you get on the early bird waitlist. That will give you first dibs at getting into the group 1 of this program. I am limiting it to just the first 100 people who sign up because I plan on providing a lot of live support to this first group. So I want to make sure I have the bandwidth and the capacity to give everyone the attention they deserve. So get on the early bird waitlist, and then I can guarantee you'll be able to secure your spot and make sure that you become one of those first 100, because most people will procrastinate. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned because in the next day or two I'm going to release another video in this series with some more information and tips for you.